Hi, this is Stan. Welcome back to the Crow's Nest Railroad. Well, we're back over at Bob's Machine Shop and we get to play with this big mighty Comet milling machine today, so I hope you can join us. Alright, if you've been following the channel, you know that one of our topics has been Bob's rebuild of a Chloe steam locomotive. And our topic today is this hand pump. It needs to be drilled out or bored out. And we're going to do that on the milling machine, and then it's going to get a sleeve in there so that the pump works properly. So we're going to have Bob mount it up on the mill, and we're going to see what that milling process is really like.
Alright, what Stan was showing you here is called a double-acting water pump. We have a chamber at each end and an air space in the middle. It takes a plunger like this with an O-ring at each end. That plunger goes back and forth a distance of about 1 inch or so. And as it runs forward, it sucks from the lower introduction from the water tank up through this piston, plunging back and forth, and comes out the top. So it happens every time that this stroke gets brought back and forth from this lever here and a pin down to here. This runs back and forth, and this managed to push itself back and forth. So we get the ability to pump water on each stroke. The challenge in this case is that the original machinist damaged the bore of this particular pump. And inside this inside diameter, there are grooves that are cut. So this O-ring that passes through and into this shaft ends up hanging up on the O-rings, and the groove allows water to pass around the O-ring sealing surface and out into the open space here and just floods the whole open space. So we need to take and put a sleeve from a brass tube into this bore, which means I need to take a boring head like this in the milling machine with a tool in the head, inserted in the head, and that then gets offset from the center line of this bore, and we cut a slightly larger hole in this center. So the water pump has been mounted to the angle plate. Countersunk hole, so the heads of the bolts that mount this to the angle plate are flush on the back of this plate. And this plate goes up against the cast iron 90-degree angle block. I've got 2 screw holes with 3/8" bolts here. And what I need to do is I need to pass a cutter held in this boring head down through the center of that portion, this zone right here. I stop it once it gets to the open zone. Now the challenge, of course, is that that hole has to be perfectly aligned with the other hole at the other end and the passageway through the open center. This whole 10-inch space is all one vertical axis. So in order to ensure that that axis is maintained with all these adapters in place, before I start cutting with this boring head spinning in the milling machine, I need to align that whole assembly vertically. So to do that, it turns out conveniently that this bore diameter is 1 inch exactly. I have a reamer that's straight and true, that's 1 inch and exactly. So that spins pretty square. So we're going to put that down in the hole of that piece, run that through, and lock that in place. Now roughly speaking, I'll go a little further on that. Roughly speaking, that's going to position this whole assembly, and I'm going to lock all the bolts down. That will position this double-acting bronze water pump in vertical alignment with the spindle of the milling machine. Then I take this reamer out, and I put the boring head in, and then we bore this hole out 1/8 of an inch overall diameter larger. Now, of course, as luck would have it, today, now that Stan's here making the film of this, I found that my power feed, the mechanical power feed that advances this a certain amount for every revolution, is not working today. I don't know what the problem is, and I cannot find the solution. So we're going to hand crank this down. So all you machinists in the group that's watching this, and you're rolling your eyes right now, I can get away with that because I'm going to go ahead and press this in to that. So I don't have to worry about any marks that aren't quite uniform in dimension as we go down here, or perfect fit, because I'm going to press the sleeve in.
So describe this movement.
All right,
again.
what we've got here is a series of X, Y, and Z dimensions. The X dimensions this lateral movement, the Y is that direction, and the Z is up and down. So that makes it a 3-axis milling machine. Now I don't want to move any of these cranks because I'm positioned right in the center of this thing right now. But there's an Acme screw thread, which is a square cut thread, different than a V-cut thread, which you use on all your normal screws and bolts you find at Home Depot. But an Acme screw thread is square cut in its profile, and that allows a lot of force, traversing power to be moved against that thread. And that's what's happening in the center of this, in the center of this, and actually in the center of that knee as it slides up and down. So there's 3 Acme threads activated by this crank, and this crank on the side.
And of course, Wile E. Coyote would only use an Acme screw in his adventures.
Of course, Acme Screw Company, he's a smart coyote as coyotes go. Alright, we have a tool here I use for measuring the inside diameter of all bores. It is spring-loaded in the center, and they come in a variety of sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and compress this and tighten the lock nut at the very end. So that comes compressed and it goes into the bore, like that. Then I come along like this and release the lock nut, and it snaps back out to that diameter. I carefully feel that diameter for the right spot where I want to be. I lock this nut on top, and then I carefully fold that out. And this is the dimension I measure with a micrometer. So that dimension is measured very carefully. I read the barrel, and it tells me what the inside diameter is without me having to do anything other than just put the tool in there and measure it. Alright, here we go, folks. We're going to make that first pass and see how it looks. Alright folks, we're going to make a second cut now. In this case I'm going a 10,000ths cut into the diameter of that. You'll see a marked difference in the chip and the noise operations as we go through this. Okay, well 1/18. So we're going 1.018. We want 1.125 as our target. We want to go 1 1/8 in diameter. At this point, I'm only 18 thousandths larger than a 1 inch. So I can go quite a bit more with my cut as I come up to that 1.125 inside diameter. Alright, we're down to the last 1.5 thousandths. So I've got the boring head set at 1,000th of an inch. And we're going to go ahead and make what we hope to be the last pass, but we'll measure anyway and see. So here we go.
That seemed like a pretty gentle cut.
It was a very gentle. Half a thou.
You know, you might need to update your automobile insurance. Maybe you should grab that call.
You have no idea how many automobile insurance calls we've had. I see the FCC is looking into it though. Oh yeah. Oh, we're perfect. We are spot on. That'll press in there.
So you want a little pressure
I didn't want it to fall through, but it should press smoothly in. So we're on the mark here. So now we need to cut that. Left a little bit of ridging because I was hand cranking it.
Oh, that's cool. I have a question here. Looks like you were a little negligent changing your furnace filter there toward last fall. A little bit of a gap here from August until January.
Hey, if I wanted your opinion on filter changes, I'd have called you in a lot earlier. You're not here to look at that. You're here to look at the other thing.
All right, all right, all right.
So what we're doing now is I've applied a Loctite 680 sealant just to try and make sure that the ports on each side of this input and output orifices are sealed. So I put the compound around that, hopefully, and probably we'll have equally good luck if we put a little ring of it on the bottom as it presses through the whole board. Now this will act as an adhesive and sealant around. So we're going to put that in there like that, and then we're going to go to the hydraulic press and we're going to press it in. So let's go do that. And there you have it. Piece of cake. And there you see the slight intrusion into the open passageway for the arm, and of course the flush fit up front. So once that Loctite seals, I expect will be absolutely waterproof in terms of any leakage coming through the orifices that are on top and bottom here. And that should allow me to put that plunger back in and assemble the whole unit, and Bob's your uncle. Oh, I do have to drill these two holes here though for the ports in that liner.
Well, as long as Bob's not your weird uncle, I guess. It's always amazing to see the universe that exists below a 1/16 of an inch. Well, that's another fantastic episode on the rebuild of the Chloe locomotive. For us woodworker guys, you could think of this machine, this mill, as, well, not just a drill press on steroids. It's a drill press from outer space. Hey, join us right here next time on the Crow's Nest Railroad. See ya.